This is Unit 4, Week 2, a review of some of the vocabulary, questions at the end, concepts and ideas. First, Stonewall Jackson. He's the main field commander under Lee. He first got famous at the First Battle of Bull Run, where he rallied the Confederate troops. There he stood like a stone wall, gave them firm strength, and then they were able to defeat the Union, and he then became Lee's favorite Confederate field commander general until he was killed at the Battle of Chancellorsville. Jefferson Davis is the president of the Confederacy, Lincoln's counterpart during the Civil War. Originally he was a senator from Mississippi, but he became the president of the Confederacy. John Wilkes Booth, the guy who ends up assassinating Lincoln, a Confederate sympathizer, obviously, and an actor. The Anaconda Plan was the original plan of the Union to squeeze, like an anaconda snake, the Confederacy. It had three parts. 1, capture the Confederate capital at Richmond. 2, blockade the entire Confederate coast so they can't get goods and supplies in or out, or sell goods, principally cotton, overseas for money. And 3, capture the Mississippi River and divide the Confederacy into 2 parts, which they did when Grant successfully captured Vicksburg, July 4th, 1863. Copperheads, they're poisonous snakes, but it was a term for Northerners who supported the South, or their right to secede, or Northerners who wanted to just get the war over, let the South go, who wants to keep these guys in our country anyways. The most famous Copperhead would have been in the 1864 election. George C. McClellan, twice commander of the Union Army, twice fired by Lincoln, was campaigning against Lincoln as a Democrat, or a peace Democrat, or Republicans would call him a Copperhead, with the idea of let's sign a treaty to end this war and get it over with. And I mentioned the 1864 election. Lincoln narrowly won re-election in the middle of a war. Possibly he wouldn't have without the Battle of Atlanta, news from Sherman's capture of Atlanta, buoying support for the Union cause. And finally, Lincoln and foreign policy. One of the big goals of the Union was to isolate the South. They didn't want England to recognize them. They didn't want Europe to consider them a legitimate country. So by blockading their coast and trying to force them as the evil ones with slavery, it put pressure on Europe not to recognize the Confederacy, which might have given them more aid or support. Anyways, that's it from some guy in an Aloha print shirt.